Hi everyone. I already see some people in the chat. So welcome to I was about to say Tasty Tuesday. It's our Q&A. So I see that people are already chatting in YouTube, but I don't see that anybody's in. Okay, now I do. So I'm not sure. There's always a delay. Um, and usually it's about 30 seconds or so. Anyway, welcome. Excuse me. Welcome to the Q&A. So in case you're unfamiliar with what we do on the Q&A is basically we just chat. You guys ask questions, I try to answer them, and the other people watching will answer them. It's just kind of a fun time. So we spend an hour together just kind of chatting and catching up and asking some questions. So any cooking questions or any questions, it's perfectly fine. You can ask me anything. My life is pretty much an open book. And let me start saying hi to some people. Hey, Brian. So Brian can't watch live. He's in Germany. He or she is in Germany and asking me about some unknown takes on some traditional foods. Foods that are not familiar to me. So what that means, Brian, is I'm going to have to look them up because I am not familiar. The only one that I recognize is pierogi. So isn't that funny? So that's fun though. I will look those up and see what I can think of to come up with because that sounds fun. Hey, Missy, how are you? Jeff is at work, so that's why I do a Q&A one Tuesday, and then the opposite Tuesday we do the cooking show because he's at work. So I don't know if he's going to be able to tune in or not. And they call me Louise. My full name is Catherine, so it's Catherine Louise. But I've always gone by Louise because we had several Catherines and Kathys in my mom's like immediate circle of friends and family. So they started calling me Louise at a young age, and it just stuck. It's kind of funny because when I was in my teenage years, I didn't want to be Louise. I wanted to be Kathy. I wanted to just have a normal mainstream name. But now I'm like happy that I have a little bit of an unusual name that isn't used too often because I think people remember it. So I'm happy about that now. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. Hi, Mary. How are you? Hi, John. Oh, John. So I did what you said last Tuesday of putting my lettuce into water in the refrigerator. And I'm happy to say it's been a week and it's perfectly fine. It's awesome. So no browning, no nothing. It's great. You just kind of take it out, shake it off, or dry it off with a paper towel, and you're good to go. So thanks for that tip. That's awesome. Hi, M&T Living and Cooking. How are you? Hey, Wendy. Hi, Latoya. How are you? Hi, Craig. I didn't think you were going to make it. I thought you were traveling. Hi, Juliet. How are you? Hi, Eva. Hi, Wayne. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Kathleen. Hi, Shelly. Hi, Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Two Barbaras in a row. Okay, so Barbara says, any ideas on cooking a tri-tip roast in the pot? Now, it's really funny because tri-tips are like so incredibly popular, but I can't get one around here. They're really kind of a California thing, or at least over in that area. Now I think you can get them in other places, but here where I live in Tennessee, you can't get them. However, I do believe. Let me look this up real quick. What is it called? I just said it. See how bad my memory is. I can't even remember just that quick. Tri-tip, because I looked this up. And I wanted to see what kind of cut it was. It's a bottom sirloin. So I would, think that for that type of a cut of meat, you would want to follow like my roast beef recipe, which is for broiling and then just letting it sit in the pot. So a high heat for a short period of time to develop that crust on the outside. And then you can leave it in the pot to finish cooking just with the residual heat. Especially if you like a medium rare to rare. If you like it more on the medium side of done, then I would probably start out broil or start out with air fry and then decrease the temperature, or even switch functions over to bake roast. So if you start on broil, then go to bake roast at a lower temperature to kind of finish it cooking it to the internal temperature that you want. If you want it well done, then I would move to either slow cooking or pressure cooking. That would be my go-to. And I think I just put out or sous vide. Oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Sous vide is always amazing. I can't remember the name of the recipe that I just put out. Oh, it's a pressure cooker eye of round. Now your tri-tip isn't going to take as long, but you could do that if you wanted it well done, but sliceable and tender. I think pressure cooking would be a good one for that. For well done, only well done though. But I'm not sure because like I said, I can't get it. So hi, Sylvianne. How are you? Hi, Kev. Hi, Ann. Hi, Pat. Hey, Lisa. Hi, Larry. Good to see you. Hi, Rekka's Kitchen. How are you? Hi, Sylvia. Okay, do I have any suggestions on air fried mushrooms? I do. I have a recipe and they are really, really good. Now, each vegetable that you air fry, so like onion rings or pickles, or yeah, pickles are a vegetable. Let me look this up. I'm going to post the link for you. Mushrooms or protein like chicken, anything that you air fry that you're going to batter gets treated just a little bit differently, depending on whether or not it gives off liquid or absorbs liquid or is neutral. So like chicken, a chicken nugget that gives off liquid. So you need to put something on there that's going to kind of bind with that liquid, but not become gummy. So each vegetable is treated a little bit different. So I really recommend, for the first time, at least, making sure that you like follow the recipe basically. Now you can switch up the breadcrumbs a little bit. Like if I forget what I used on that recipe, I think I used straight breadcrumbs, but you could add in some panko. But you can also run into some problems if you switch up from breadcrumbs to panko in a recipe that, like if my recipe calls for breadcrumbs and you decide you want to use all panko, sometimes the panko won't stick. Okay. So when I test these recipes out before I put them on my website or do a video on them, I test them in multiple different ways. So you can rest assured that the recipe that goes on the website is the best I found, the best combination of ingredients that I found. So I'll do it sometimes with all breadcrumbs, sometimes with all panko, sometimes with a mix. And then I change the ratio of the mix up because I test them so many times before they get on the website. So usually I have that really fine tuned. So I recommend following the recipe for the best results. Oh, Mary, so you made the pressure cooker carrots, the dill carrots for family dinner on Saturday. They were a hit. That's so awesome. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad your grandson loved them. I was a little concerned about that with kids. Like, would they like those flavors? If you put the flavoring in that I did in my recipe. I mean, if not, no big deal. You can flavor them any which way you want. But I was wondering whether kids would like that. But kids love ranch dressing, and that's kind of the basic, feel of the seasonings is a ranch dressing. They're really good. Hey, Robin, how are you? Hi, Christina. How are you? I do not know what this pink hand waving means. Two people have mentioned it. I'm gonna have to look it up just in case I'm being scammed or something. I have no idea what it means. Like, I don't know. It's not coming up either. So if anybody knows what that means, let me know. I have no idea. Okay. Hi, Abby. How are you? Hi, Faith. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Rita. Oh, Larry, do I have a recipe for German pancakes? Gosh, I'm not even sure I know what I'm German, actually, and I don't even know if I know what German pancakes are. Let me look them up. Oh, Dutch babies. Oh, Dutch babies. No, I don't, but I made one for Jeff for his birthday several years ago. It turned out amazing. And I don't remember how I did it. I didn't write it down because I was just making him a quick breakfast. And I don't know. I guess I got lucky, right? Okay, I'm so confused about this. If anyone can tell me what this Hand pink wave. I do not know what it means. So I know I'm showing my age or something, or I'm being ridiculous, but I don't know what it means. I'm not going to talk about it anymore, but if anyone knows what it means, please let me know. Okay, let's see. Robin, I submerged. So Robin's asking about the lettuce submerged in water. I submerged the whole thing. I just happened to have a bowl that it would fit right in. I submerged the whole thing. I don't know if that's right or not, but I submerged the whole thing. Okay. Melody. Hey, from Clarksville, Tennessee. Not sure where that is, but I am in Bethel Springs, Tennessee. Okay, Missy wants to know, do I always cook in the air pressure? You mean like the Ninja Foodi pressure cooker and air crisper? I'm assuming that's kind of what you mean. I no, not always, but a lot. I mean, mostly. I mean, I made cookies the other day. I'm not going to make cookies in the Ninja Foodi. There's not enough space. It would take me forever. If you're going to make 4 cookies, you could do it in the Ninja Foodi. If you want to make 3 dozen, you do it in the oven, right? So I'll use the oven for that. Sometimes some casseroles, like I'm testing a recipe for seafood stuffed shells, and I do part of it in the Ninja Foodi, but then I put it into a casserole dish to put it in the oven. So sometimes I'll use the Ninja Foodi to start things or prep things and then switch it over. But yeah, no, not all the time, just a lot. Today I did steamed eggs in the Ninja Speedy, so I used something different. I wanted to try that out to see how it works. Hi, Stella. How are you? Hi, Christy Sunshine from Georgia. How are you? Hi, Gail. Thank you. Gail says she loves Tuesdays. I love Tuesdays too. It's my fun day. And what I do on Tuesdays, so when I've learned over the years of doing this that going live, whether I'm cooking or just talking, takes a lot out of me. So I used to be busy, like testing recipes on Tuesday and doing all kinds of stuff, but I've learned not to do that. So basically Tuesdays are my like computer day where I catch up on stuff. I don't spend a whole lot of time on Facebook on Tuesdays. I don't spend a whole lot of time doing other things, but I do like catch up, like do admin kind of work. But I did test a recipe today because I wanted to have egg salad for lunch, and I thought I'm going to see if the steam function on the Ninja Speedy works. And it does. It works beautifully. Hi, Kelly. How are you? So Kelly says, I love watching your videos. Thank you so much, especially the Ninja Dual Zone air fryer ones. Don't have too many of those, just a few, although I love it. Also, Kelly, keep in mind that you can use any of my recipes that are air fryer recipes, or even broil or bake roast in the Ninja Dual Zone air fryer. I've done many tests with things and they air fry exactly the same. I mean, it's a really good air fryer. And I found that because a lot of times with air fryers, it depends on where the food sits in relation to the heating element. And so that can change your cooking temperatures or your cooking time. But what I found is I air fry mostly in the basket in the Ninja Foodi, and the putting the food in the basket in the dual drawer is the same. It works the same. I haven't had to make any changes. So that's nice. Okay, I'm just keep going. Okay, Lisa, this is a good question. Excuse me. First of all, before I answer, I would just want to say cheers. I will tell you about this cocktail. Usually on Tuesdays, not all the time, but usually I'll feature some sort of a cocktail and I'll try to make a different one. This is one I've been enjoying this spring quite a bit. Super easy to make. And I'll tell you about it in just a minute, but cheers. Okay, Lisa. Why do I get a notice on my Ninja? It just says pot. If I wiggle the inner pot, it helps. But what is the reason for it? Okay. So there's a couple of things that can be going on here. One, your pot sensor could be bad. The pot sensor, well, the sensor itself is underneath, but the button on the bottom is what depresses when it recognizes that the pot's in. So when pressure gets on top of it, it depresses, and then it signals the sensor that the pot is in. So if the sensor is going bad, which unfortunately happens quite frequently, then you'll get that pot notice even when your pot's in. The other thing that can happen is the pot can become a little warped, or maybe it dropped or something like that. But over time, because metal expands and contracts, over time, the shape of the bottom can become altered a little bit. And then maybe it just doesn't sit quite right on that button to signal to the pot sensor that it's in all the time. And it's super frustrating. I have one that does this, an old one of my original ones. So the first thing that I recommend doing is trying to figure out whether it's the pot or the pot sensor. Okay. So what you can do is take something like, a wooden or metal utensil that's long, push the button down in the bottom without the inner pot in, push it down, hit the sear saute, take it to low so you're not radiating a whole bunch of heat. Take it to low and keep it held down manually just for, just for a few, not even a few minutes, just a minute. And if it doesn't give you the pot notice, then there's a good chance that your sensor's okay, but your pot is warped a little bit. And you can get a replacement pot on the Ninja website. They used to be like $24. I'm not sure how much they are now, but you can try that. And that helps probably, I'm going to say like 66% of the time, that solves the issue for people. But if it is your pot sensor, then there's nothing you can really do about it except disable your pot sensor, which is not something that I've ever done or would even be comfortable doing. But there is a video on YouTube. If you want to do that at your own risk, you can disable the pot sensor. It doesn't affect the cooking or anything like that, but it won't, it just avoids it. So you won't get that notice. It doesn't, I don't think it does anything else, but look, I'm not telling you to do that. Ninja would not tell you to do that, but there is a video out there on YouTube if you want to look it up. Okay. Hey, Crystal. It's so funny, Crystal. I was just about to tell everybody that you weren't going to make it. Isn't that funny? So Crystal emailed me earlier. I asked her to, because I get so worried when, there's certain people that show up every single week. And it's like when they don't show up for like 3 weeks in a row, I'm like, what's going on? What happened? So Crystal emailed me, but I'm glad you're here, Crystal. Thanks for joining in. Okay. Hi, Lucy. How are you? Yeah, Mary, it's a great tip. In fact, John, I should do a YouTube video on it. I don't know. Do you mind? Steal your idea? I won't say it's mine though. I'll give credit where credit's due. But yeah, it's a really great one. And I happen to have a Pampered Chef salad bowl that like it fits in perfectly. So it's pretty cool. Hey, Paul, how are you? Gosh, I haven't seen you in a long time. I have not been very engaged in the Duo Crisp group. I don't know why. I bit off more than I could chew, honestly, with the Facebook groups I have. I think I have like 10 of them. And I barely get to just admit people to the group. So I apologize for that. I am so glad that you enjoyed that lamb. Yeah. You did. Did you do the air crisp method only? I hope so. That's my favorite. Oh, Christina. So Christina made the air fryer mushrooms, but cooked them in oil because she doesn't have an air fryer. Did they turn out? Sometimes batter's different. Like with fried mushrooms, you don't have to do the batter like I do for the air fryer because you can do a wet batter, and that might even be better. I have a deep fryer. I don't know. I just don't use it. Hi, Stella. Okay, Stella's got a question. Do you have any tips for baking in a toaster convection oven? Yes, absolutely. So basically, if it's a small convection or toaster oven, you definitely want to decrease your heat at least 25 to 50 degrees right off the bat. And then you want to make sure that you rotate and check on your food frequently because it's a smaller space. There's less heat escaping and food can cook a lot quicker. The other thing is make sure that when you're cooking in it, that you don't have the food so close to the element that it's going to burn too quickly. So that can happen like with cakes and things like that. When you're baking cakes, let's talk about cakes for a little bit because this would even apply to the Ninja Foodi or any small environment where you're trying to bake a cake. If you have too much direct heat on top at first and it's too hot, what happens is it starts to rise really rapidly, but the top starts to set too quickly. So as the whatever leavening agents in your cake are working, it wants to push up. So it have you ever had the volcano cakes where you've got these little areas that are so uneven? And that's because your top set too quickly and your cake batter is still trying to get through. Then what happens is it can't get through. And then it just doesn't cook correctly. So then you end up with undercooked or gummy cakes. So what I like to do is always start out if I'm in a closed environment, small closed environment like that. What I like to do is cover the cakes and go 75 degrees lower than what the oven temperature would be. That much. And do that for the first 15 to 20 minutes. That gives your cake enough time to warm up and start to cook and rise up. So you'll see that it's risen a good amount, not all the way, but a good amount. So then when you start increasing your heat and you uncover it so that it can cook all the way through, you don't get those volcanic looking things on top because it's had time to kind of rise more naturally in that smaller environment. So those are my tips. Casseroles too, make sure that if they're going to be close to the heating element, that they're covered. Lower your heat, and then the last 10 minutes of cooking, you can obviously up your heat. Like if you want to broil cheese on top or something like that, you can up your heat and uncover. But even things with like lasagna in a regular oven, you could technically just cook it uncovered the whole time and then put cheese on top and then maybe bump up the heat. But in a convection oven, I would recommend covering it. That does not only just does it protect the top, but it also traps in the steam and that helps to cook it through. Okay. Because we don't have a lot of room for air circulation and things like that. Even though we've got a fan spinning, still not a lot of room. It's different than an oven for sure. Okay. How do you do rice pudding in the Foodi? I have a recipe. And you don't have to follow. I don't think anybody's going to follow this recipe, although if you did, it's delicious. But I think it's jasmine rice pudding. Let me see, where is it? Let me put the link in there. But you don't have to follow my instructions. This one was a little on the no, it wasn't too bad, but I think I brewed like jasmine tea and things like that for the liquid to make it kind of fancy. I mean, it's really good, but you don't have to do that. You can use whatever kind of ingredients you want to use, but follow it for the timing and the liquids and the directions and things like that. And you'll be fine. But if you just want a traditional, like cinnamon or vanilla, whatever, you do whatever you want. Hi, Linda. Hi, Anne. How are you? All right, let's see. Food Wishes has a great Dutch baby recipe and video. Okay, good. Perfect. Hi, Bonnie. How are you? Hi, Trisha. How are you? Hi there. So you recently purchased the Ninja Foodi Cold and Hot Blender, and I love all your recipes. Thank you so much. I have not done a recipe in the hot and cold blender in a really long time, and there's a reason for it. It's because there's not. I think they're hard to find now, and there's not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot. Like a whole lot of search going on for those recipes. But man, it makes things so easy. Now I used a different blender, so let's talk about that. You could do this in the hot and cold blender too, though. But I used a different Ninja blender, and I used this cup, which I really like because it has this twisty thing on the bottom that you can twist. Of course, this is down in the machine. This is where the blade part goes on, and then you can spin this around. It helps to take ingredients down and kind of get them better mixed. I'm like tongue-tied tonight. I don't know why. So what this is this is a lemon drop martini. So it is vodka, water, ice, and I put in 2 candied lemon peels with a tiny bit of the sugar that I'm storing the lemon peels in, or I'll use a simple syrup. Okay. So you want a little sweetener in there. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bitter, but they are so good. I don't really have any specific ingredient amounts. I'm going to have to do that so that I can get a recipe out on my website. It's really that good. It's very refreshing. It's not too sweet, not too tart. And the lemon peels are amazing. Like, they are so good. They are not too sweet. Oh my gosh. They are not too tart. And they're done in the pressure cooker in like, boom, no time at all. Oh my gosh. So much easier. And if you've ever made candied lemon peels and you're on the stove, and you're boiling it, and some people will say change out the water several times. This is pressure cook for 0 minutes in a little bit of sugar water, and then get them out, coat them in the sugar, and you're done. They're perfect for garnishes. I do have a recipe and video coming out on that. Okay. M&T, living and cooking with potato pancakes be considered a German pancake? No, I don't think so. I think potato pancakes are something totally different. Like, it depends on what you mean by potato pancakes. When I think of potato pancakes, I think of like potato fritters. So let me look up potato pancakes and see. Maybe they are German. Look at me. I guess I don't know my heritage that much. So potato pancakes are actually, oh, I see. They're hash browns, basically. Okay, got it. Grated ground potatoes. So no, that would not be a Dutch baby. A Dutch baby is more like a thick pancake. So it's not, like an American pancake is just like really thin, and it's on the skittle for a couple of minutes on each side, if that, 45 seconds probably. A Dutch baby is just a little bit, it puffs up. It's really good. They're really good. It's hard to explain, but they're really good. Okay. But a potato pancake is apparently a German thing, but it's a hash brown. That I would call it a hash brown. And not the formed hash brown. I would call it like, there's two different kinds of hash browns. So there's the hash browns that are like a potato cake, potato patty, more like a tater tot, but long like a McDonald's hash brown. And then there's the kind that's just grated and just fried in a skillet usually. I don't know if there's different names though. I call them both hash browns. And then I think some people will actually call hash browns what I would call breakfast potatoes, which are just chunks of potatoes that are fried, and they'll call those hash browns too. So it's interesting. Hey Skip, how are you? Good to see you in the chat. Okay, Juliet says both of her grandmoms made potato pancakes, and one was Polish and one was Lithuanian. So, Juliet, how did they make them? What were they? Were they, an actual like dough, or were they shredded potatoes, or a mixture? Like, what were they? Tell us. Let us know. Hi, Roxanne. Okay, Larry, how did I do the eggs in the speedy? I put 2 cups of water in the inner pot. I put the rack in the low position. That little tray, I put it in the low position. I only did 4 eggs because number 1, I didn't know if it would work. And number 2, I was just making a little bit of egg salad. And I steamed for 12 minutes, dumped them then into ice water. They peeled beautifully. Probably not as well as pressure cooking, but real darn close. And they were cooked beautifully. So I had no issues. None of them cracked. It was really nice. I took one out at 4 minutes, just to give you an idea, because I wanted to see if maybe that would be soft boiled. And if you were, or soft steamed, I guess I should say, if you were going to want to do it so it was like a runnier egg yolk for like a soft boiled egg, I think you would do 2 minutes of steam. It's fast. And then I checked it at 4 minutes, and I would consider that it was medium boiled. I don't even know if that's a thing. But anyway, the whites were set. The yolk was just set. Okay. So it wasn't runny, but it wasn't firm like a hard boiled egg. So I let them go 12 minutes. Now, next time I'll try it for 8 minutes and see what happens. But they were perfect at 12. Let's see here. Yeah, Crystal, I hope you do feel better. So my sister has to get iron infusions as well. And sometimes even after the iron infusion, like well, all the time, she's very, very, very tired. So yeah, I do hope it gets better. It's really tough when you have a chronic illness. It's really tough. It's tough mentally and physically, you know. I don't know if you guys know this, but I was a nurse for a long time. And so I've seen a lot of different things and it's just it's hard. Um, okay, let's see. Let's keep going here. Oh, American Mom, thank you so much. I love teaching cooking. And I'm not the best, right? I'm not the person that knows everything. I'm not a trained chef or anything like that. But I've been cooking long enough that I know it doesn't work. I know it messes up because I've done it already. And I'm not afraid to mess up at all. Like I figure, hey, it's fine. Like Jeff said the other day, I messed something up pretty bad. What was it? Oh my gosh, I can't even remember. I mean, totally ruined it. Like ruined it. Very seldom do I have to throw anything in the trash. And I believe I threw I have not thrown it in the trash yet, but it is going in the trash. It was my test for my seafood lasagna, and I did certain things and I messed it up. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I've had a complete failure today," like cuz I that wasn't the only recipe that didn't go as planned. And I said, "I've had a complete failure today." And he said, "No, no, no, it's not a failure. It's a learning experience." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I didn't like I said, "Oh, I know. I hate failing." That's what I said. "I hate failing, and today was a complete failure." He's like, "It wasn't a failure, it was a learning experience." I said, "Well, today I hate learning." Because I was so frustrated. But most of the time it's like no problems. This one I wanted to get out and I wanted to get it right because it was my third test and I could not help myself. The second test was perfect, right? So what do I do on the third test? Change it up, right? And I ruined it. I was so mad. Um, but I do that really for you guys. So, like, one time I did it from start to finish in the Foodi. One time I added tarragon. One time I didn't. One time I put it in the oven. And so I try all these different things so that hopefully I find out, okay, this is the best cooking method. This is the best set of ingredients. This time, what I did was I thought I've got lemon in the ricotta cheese, the filling with the seafood, right? That bakes in the shell. And I thought, oh, I should add some lemon to the sauce. No, because the acid in the lemon curdled the cream sauce. I know this, but I didn't think about it on that day. And I just did it and I totally ruined it. I mean, I tried to take a picture of it. It looked so horrible. So, anyway, it is what it is. So I'll fix that. So don't add lemon to cream. I mean, you can in certain instances, but it will curdle. Okay. Stacy wants to know, do I have any classes on the Ninja Foodie Grill? I don't, but I have thought about it. I've got that major course on the Ninja Foodie pressure cooker and air crisper. It is major. I mean, over 100 videos. I like can't even I go look at it. I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, people love it and they learn from it, but I've got to be honest, it's a lot and there's a lot in there. I mean, it's basically a mini cooking course. So I thought, for the other appliances and maybe even for the Ninja Foodie, maybe what I should do is do quick start courses. So they're like a little bit more condensed versions. And then if you want to go deeper, you can get the bigger version. But that way, the price point will be lower. It's a quicker thing. You learn all about it. So anyway, I'm thinking about doing that. I'm still working on finishing the other course though, that's totally my fault. I should have it done by now. I have to. It's a big story, but I've got to. I have to feel really confident with the appliance myself to be able to teach somebody how to use it. Like I'm not one of those people that's just regurgitating what I learned in a manual. I'm not. That's not who I am. Um, and I want to practice everything that I do. So, like, if I'm saying something about the Ninja Foodie Air Crisper, well, I have to have made it. I have to have done it. I've had to experience it. I have to do experiments. Like one of my experiments the other day was, does the amount of water that you put in affect the preheat time on the Ninja Foodi Steam and Crisp? And I'm talking specifically about the steam and crisp function. So if you put a half a cup of water in, is your preheat time longer than if you put in a cup of water? Or how does it affect the steam time? So I did this experiment. And keep in mind, when I do these experiments, it's not like I could just do them back to back. Of course, I could have two going at the same time, which I've tried, and my brain does not work that way. Oh my gosh, I get everything all mixed up and it just doesn't work. So I can't have two going at a time. I have to focus on one thing at a time. But I also have to let the foodie cool down completely before I do the second test, or it's not going to be accurate. So that means that doing like 2 to 3 tests would take literally all day. I mean, I'm doing things in between. So I put a lot of time into it. I just don't throw stuff out. I definitely put a lot of time into it. So it's definitely it's a course worth taking. I'll tell you, if you have the Ninja Foodi pressure cooker and air crisper, it is definitely worth every single penny. I'll tell you that. Okay, let's see. We are at 7:35. I'm at 7:16 in the minute on the comments. So I need to pick it up a little bit. Stop talking so much, Louise. Okay. Terry, oh my gosh, this probably couldn't come at a better time. I bought my Ninja Foodi pressure cooker about 3 years ago and used it twice. Just seems like I need a book to use it. Any tips or tricks to use it cooking chicken, pork during weekdays, faster meals? I feel like I need a few hours on a weekend to use it. So, Terry, take the course, get the course. But if you don't have the time to spend, I totally understand that, or the finances to afford it. I totally understand that as well. I would definitely take some time learning how to use it, because that's going to make it so much quicker. Like right now, I could walk over to it and I could whip up a chicken breast with rice, with a vegetable in, 20 minutes, right? No problems. And it's instinctual for me. But if you don't understand the functions and how they work, it's kind of hard to do that, right? And then you feel like you're researching recipes. So take some time though, like look through my website, pull out some recipes that you think that you would like, and then plan to cook them the first time on a weekend when you're not so stressed, when you have a little bit more time, so that you can understand the recipe. Then you can put those recipes into your weekday rotation, like no problem, because not all of them are quick and easy. Okay. Most of them are, but not all of them. So yeah, so definitely it's a learning curve, but I guess, another thing that I could share that I think might be helpful is if you think about the Ninja Foodi like a stove and an oven, just smaller. Okay. So your sear saute is your stovetop. The inner pot is your frying pan. Okay. So if you are going to saute something, like let's say you just wanted to quickly saute some chicken breast and you didn't want to turn on the stove, you wanted to do it in the Ninja Foodi. I mean, I think it's just as easy to do it on the stove personally, just because the pot's deep. But if you wanted to, you would do it exactly the same way. Turn your heat up the pot, put in some oil, let the oil get hot, season up your chicken and sear it on both sides. Then turn down your temperature a little bit and let it cook all the way through until it comes up to the right temperature. That would be the same. Okay. So the sear saute is the same as your stovetop. And then think of the crisping functions as the same as your oven. Okay. So air fry is circulating the air and it's designed to get a crispier texture onto foods, especially breaded foods or skin on foods. So, like, one misconception I think about air frying is that you could throw anything in there and it's going to get crispy. That is not the truth. You could throw anything in there and it might burn or get crisp, like burnt broccoli or something like that, an unpleasant burnt crisp, but it's not necessarily just going to crisp up. Like you can't throw in a chicken breast and expect it to come out like fried chicken unless you put breading on it. I mean, that's not what it's designed to do, but it can cook it and it can brown it the same as in an oven, right? But with breaded foods, they do come out nice and crispy. So that's really where the air fryer shines. Or potatoes, you can get them really nice and crispy, but you can get them crispy in the oven too. So it's pretty much, I mean, it's this. I say it's the same. It's not the same because your temperatures are a little bit lower, but it's the same concept, right? It's dry heat cooking method. So your oven is a dry heat cooking method. The Ninja Foodi using the crisping lid is a dry heat cooking method. Then think of the inner pot as a big pot on the stove, and on sear saute, you could boil water. So it's the same thing. It's a wet environment. Steaming is the same as if you put a pot of water on the stove, brought it to a boil, put a colander over top, threw your vegetables in, and put a lid on it. That's your steam function in the Ninja Foodi, right? In a nutshell, that's what it's doing. So it would be no different. In that instance, there's no even conversions, right? Because boiling water is boiling water. It self-regulates. It's going to only get to 212 degrees at sea level. So you don't have to do anything. So if your broccoli takes 10 minutes to steam on the stove, it's going to take 10 minutes in the Ninja Foodi using the steam function only. Okay. Now, sometimes if you have the lid on, this is a little different with the one lid and the two lid models. The one lid model traps in a little bit more steam. So sometimes it will get done a little bit faster because there's less evaporation. But usually it's about the same. So the other thing about the one lid model, if you're steaming, because I don't want anyone to ruin their food listening to me, what I just said, sometimes the pin will pop up in the back on the one lid models, on the two lid models. I'm sorry. The lid that goes on, the pressure lid that goes on, it has the pin that pops up that's not attached. Let's be real clear. The pin will pop up. So always decrease your time by about 2 minutes that you set on the clock in case it pops up, because you need that extra time for it to go back down so you can open the lid. And 2 minutes can overcook food really easily when you're steaming. The one lid, smart lid models, that's not a problem. It'll never lock on steam because the lid is designed different and the vents are in the top. So you don't have to worry about it on that one. Okay, and then what else? The sous vide is the sous vide. The only thing that I can say about the sous vide function is check your temperatures. Sometimes it takes longer for them to get up to the temperature. So when it says add food, check your temperature. If your temperature is not where you programmed it, then let it go longer. It will get up there. It does a great job. And that's one function I'm really shocked about, really. I did not think that it would ever do as good of a job as my sous vide circulator. It's not as precise. You can't, I can set my sous vide circulator on really random temperatures, I don't know. I think I could even do 62.2, or wouldn't cook at 62.2 Fahrenheit, but let's say 104.8, right? Or 143.2 or whatever. I can set it to anything. On the Ninja Foodi, you go in increments of 5 degrees. So it's not quite as precise. It's not quite as accurate, but it is a great job. Just let it get up to the right temperature. Add your food. And if your temperature's a little too hot, because one of mine runs a little hot, don't worry too much about that either. If it's just 5 or 10 degrees over where you set it, don't worry about that. Once you put in your food, it's going to drop that temperature and then it self-regulates. And like I said, it does a really good job. Surprised. So I think that those are the tips that I can think of off the top of my head. I hope that helps some. Okay. Yes. So we got another vegetable tip. I love all these tips. Let me, yeah. So Mary's saying put asparagus in a canning jar with water and it helps keep them fresh. Yep. Asparagus should always be kept in water. The stems, the bottom part the stalk should always be kept in water. I don't do it though. And I get, wimpy kind of soft asparagus. I mean, it's not crisp like you like it. So yeah, definitely keep that in water. Another one, like basil, don't ever keep basil in the refrigerator. It will turn brown. It hates that. It loves water though. So you can put it in a little, I have these little mini vases. So I'll stick my basil in the vase. And then you can also put a plastic bag over top, and basil loves that. Oh my gosh. The other thing about basil that I think is just so amazing, and it's the same with other vegetables, including certain kinds of tomatoes, is you can take the stem and reroot it. So you could take a cutting off of basil, and I don't know how well it works if you get it from the store, but I think it might. But I know I do it all the time in my garden. Take a little cutting off, put it in water, let it root, and you've got a new basil plant that you can plant. It's pretty cool. I love all that stuff. The other thing is you can regrow your green onions about 3 times. So basically, you can use your green onions. Make sure you keep the very bottom white part. Throw those into water, just right on your counter. Change the water out every 1 to 2 days, and you will regrow your green onions, and you'll be able to use them. About the 3rd time they grow, though, they're a little bit soft, and that's when after that I throw them away and get new ones from the store. Okay, let's see. Let's get down here. All right. Well, this is a question. Will Ninja make a bread maker? I don't know. I mean, I'm not in the in with Ninja. They don't tell me what they're gonna make or anything like that. I don't know that they will. I mean, the Ninja Foodi Steam and Crisp is a really good bread baker. It's not a maker, but it's a bread baker. Yeah, I'm not even sure how popular bread makers are anymore. So that would be a thing that they would be looking at. Would people buy a bread maker? Yeah, and I'm talking about something that, which I think you're talking about. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Something that you put the ingredients in, it does all the kneading and all that stuff, the shaping, everything, and then it bakes it right in there. You don't even have to take it out. I never liked them though, because there's always the dough hook in there, right? So when you get your bread out, you always have a hole in your bread. I've never liked a bread maker. My mom used to use one, and I have one. I haven't even used it. Okay, Misty's got a recipe. 1 to 2 pounds of hamburgers, potatoes, sauerkraut, and cheese. A German casserole. I like all those ingredients. I mean, they sound like they go delicious together. I'll have to look that up. Um, Juliet, I do have some drink recipes on my website. I have a Bloody Mary mix, which is also really great, like vegetable juice, like a tomato vegetable juice, if you just don't put the hot sauce and stuff in it. And then I have pina coladas. I have strawberry daiquiri. I'm trying to think what else. I think I have some more. I don't have too many, but I do have some. Yeah. I like making cocktails, different ones. I'm not like a cocktail maker, like a professional bartender or anything, but I do enjoy it. Hey, Deb. So Jeff is at work. This is the Q&A, and gosh, I mean, we've been chatting, but I can't think of anything really that you missed except for just some answers to some questions. But I don't know. That's hard to recap. Like if I'm cooking, I can tell you what you missed. All right. Oh, that's a good way to put it, Robin. Dutch baby is kind of a giant popover. That is correct. That is a good way to describe it. And you know what I just realized is that I am not on the right chat in YouTube. Bear with me for 1 second. I mean to go in and do this before I go live every single time, and I forget every single time, pretty much. Now, if it starts to there, I'll turn that off. So, if I have missed your question, if I have missed your comment, I'm going to apologize for that. I was on top chat instead of live chat, which means that I only see certain comments, not all of them. So, I apologize for that. All right, let's see. So Christy Sunshine says that her bread maker beeps to let her know to take out the beater, and you end up with just a tiny hole. Well, maybe they've come far since the time that I used one, because I just remember it being like huge. Or maybe I didn't know how to use it. I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's see. Okay, so Beth, leftover mashed potato with egg and flour is what we call a potato cake. That is basically what I consider as a potato cake too. That's what my mom, like a potato fritter. Yeah, that's what my mom would make. That's what I consider a potato cake. But a potato pancake, I guess, is something totally different. All right, let's see. Well, I think I caught up, or maybe I just missed a lot. Um, I do, Lisa, have a Brussels sprout recipe, and I can post that for you. It is a candied Brussels sprout. But again, recipes are meant to be adjusted to what you like. So if you just wanted the bacon but didn't want the sweetness, because I'm a huge fan of sweet and salty. That's my go-to. If you didn't want that sweet, you just omit the sweet parts, right? The glaze. I don't even remember how to make that one, but I know it's delicious. And the secret with Brussels sprouts is it's really a good idea to. Oh my gosh, I'm yawning. I'm so sorry. That just hit me like a brick. Um, you really want to get the Brussels, especially if you're going to make them whole. Okay. You really want to get the Brussels sprouts softened a little bit by using steam, or I might even use a little low pressure on that, like a low um, time pressure cook on those. I don't remember, but you want to get them kind of softened before you crisp them up. Otherwise, you end up really burning them unless you shave them or cut them really small. Skillet frying Brussels sprouts from whole, even half, is very challenging and time consuming because you have to monitor your heat. You want them brown, but you want them to be soft enough, but you don't want them to over brown. You don't want them to burn. I mean, it's a pain. It's a very hands-on. So sometimes doing a combination method, like whether you blanch them first or whether you steam them first and then go on to pan frying them or putting them in an air fryer, that works really well. All right, let's see. I don't know what that means, Missy. It says I cannot put this recipe. I'm not sure what that means. Sorry, I don't know what it means. Let's see. Okay, I'm going back. Okay, yeah. Pork rind. So I think, Marlene, you're probably talking about the mushrooms, maybe, because that's the only air fried food that we really talked about specifically. So yeah, I've tried that because my husband Jeff, he eats low carb. I just don't because of my job, but um we tried pork rinds. The only problem that I have with pork rinds, and it works in certain cases and in others it doesn't work so well. Like it works better with mushrooms than it would with chicken nuggets, and that's because the chicken nuggets give off liquid and pork rinds are not absorbent at all. And they're full of fat themselves. So it works for certain things. I've tried it. I'm not a huge fan of pork rinds though. Um, I just can't quite get that. Okay. John with his question. Okay. For those of you that are new, every single week, John has a question for me. They are always good questions, and sometimes they throw me for a loop. Okay. Louise, for our newbies, when cutting some of your recipes in half, what is the rule of thumb for time and pressure? Okay, so this is a really good question. There's not a one size fits all answer either because it depends on a lot of things. However, if I was to say the rule of thumb for cutting a recipe in half, and we're going to talk only about pressure cooking, okay? Only about pressure cooking. Okay, there's two categories that I'm going to put this in. One is, how do I put this? Oh gosh, this is a hard one. Okay, so let's talk about meat, proteins, roast, things like that. If the recipe calls for a 3-pound roast and you're using a 1.5-pound roast, and it says to pressure cook for 40 minutes, let's just say, okay, 40 minutes. Then I would not cut the pressure cook time in half, but I would decrease it by at least 25 to 30%. okay, for the smaller piece of meat because it is going to cook faster, but it doesn't always cook and tenderize in half the time. Okay. Now, different meats will be a little different, but rule of thumb, we're talking about averages, right? Now, if you're doing rice and you're cutting rice in half, so let's say the recipe calls for 1 cup of rice and 1 cup of water and pressure cook for 2 minutes and then do a natural release for 10 minutes because that's kind of my rule of thumb for a regular white rice. And that is done, let's just say it's done pot and pot, or done in the inner pot, okay? And you were going to cut it back to a half of a cup and a half of a cup. Number one, that's going to get tricky in the inner pot, but let's just say, let's take that out of the equation and it's going to be perfectly fine. Your time to pressure is going to be less when you half the recipe. So your cook time, your overall cook time is going to be less. So what I would do in that case is add on a few extra minutes of natural release time or increase the pressure cook time to 3 minutes. With rice, I would err on the side of caution. I don't like mushy rice, so I would just go longer with my natural release time. Then there's potatoes. Okay, so let's say we're going to pressure cook potatoes and they're whole potatoes. Okay, we're pressure cooking whole potatoes. The time stays exactly the same because each potato is going to cook at the same time, whether, as long as it's about the same size. I hope this makes sense. This is a hard one to answer on the fly because there's so many different variables. If it is a casserole and you're cutting it in half, then the depth of the casserole is what's going to determine the cook time more so than anything else. So if it's if it's shallower, okay, so it's half the height because you're using the same size pan, but you're cutting it in half and it's half the height, then your time is going to be much less, probably 30 to 40% less. Not usually 50% less, but 30 to 40% less. If you use a smaller container and the height is about the same, then your cook time is usually going to be the same. The cook time, whether or not you pressure cook 1 chicken breast or whether you pressure cook 10 chicken breast, is the same. Each chicken breast, as long as they are about the same size, are going to cook at the same time. Let's think of another one. What's another example? I'm trying to think. Pressure cooking. I wouldn't pressure cook broccoli necessarily. Let's do chopped cabbage. If you were going to pressure cook chopped cabbage and it's already chopped, and we're talking about a whole head sticking in there because then the size makes the difference. The density makes the difference in the cook time. So the size would matter. But if it's all chopped up and my recipe called for 2 cups of cabbage to be pressure cooked and you only wanted to make 1, no changes whatsoever in the recipe. I think that's all I can think of off the top of my head. If you guys have specific questions about that, throw them in the chat and I'll try to answer them because there's a lot of differences. It's not just, and that's true of any cooking appliance. Okay. That's true of the oven. That's true of the stove. It's true. I mean, it's just about how food cooks. So it has nothing to do with the Ninja Foodi, really. It's just pressure cooking is a little more nuanced. So, it's a little bit more particular. You want to get your ratios right. You want to get your timing right. It's easy to overcook food in the pressure cooker. You can't check on the food in the pressure cooker. You can't just easily open it up, so that's why it gets a little bit trickier. But that is true across the board for all cooking, is that there are so many variables that cutting a recipe in half is not just as simple as cutting all the ingredients in half and cutting the cooking time in half, because there's other things to consider. All right, let's see here. See you, Barbara. All right, I think I'm good now. Okay, so Crystal, and there's a question before you, but I'm going to answer you first and then go. Okay, do you like cold brew coffee? If so, what kind do you buy, or do you make it yourself? I love it. and I guess it's a brand, Stoke, STOK. I don't drink cold coffee. Excuse me. I don't know why. And cold brew. I have a cold brew thing that I can make it. I don't. I drink my coffee hot in the morning and that's it. I'm done with coffee. Um, so I don't really have any opinions on it because I just don't drink it. Now I have gotten one of these Starbucks fancy things. And oh my gosh. I mean, that's like dessert in a cup though. So that's way different than just a cold brewed coffee. That's just totally different. Okay. I'm sorry. I do not think I can pronounce your first name. Uh Nutella is what I'm going to say. I do not know if I'm correct. I apologize if I'm wrong. Do you have more chicken breast recipes? Well, this is the thing about chicken breast. For something that everybody wants to make all the time, they're kind of tough to cook, right? They're so easily overcooked. So in the pressure cooker, I don't have any plain chicken breast recipes. I have a lot of recipes that use chicken breast, ton of recipes that use chicken breast. But in the pressure cooker, I have 0 that are just chicken breast because I have yet to get the timing down pat because they always dry out. They are always rubbery. I do not like them that way. So I don't cook them that way. I do have a chicken breast recipes that are like, I've got, of course, chicken tenders and I've got chicken cordon bleu and I've got a lot of different those kind of recipes, but not just plain chicken breast, honestly. But if you go on my website, thesaltedpepper.com, and you type in chicken breast, things will pop up so you can see what I do have. I probably need to do more though. I'm trying to get a little bit more basic. Like I feel like I've got enough recipes out there that are fun and use ingredients and are like a lot of ingredients or a few ingredients, but they're an actual recipe. But I think like I over the summer and stuff, I want to also mix in like how do you just cook a plain chicken breast that's just seasoned with salt and pepper? Like, how do you do that in the Ninja Foodi? Which way works the best? Because I think that's really practical for people because a lot of times we'll come home and we want to make a chicken breast, right? We want to make the chicken breast to go on a salad. We want to make the chicken breast to accompany, our rice or our pasta, but we don't want it to be mixed up. We want to just do our chicken breast. So I'm trying to do a little bit more of that. Like I just did one. What did I just do that I thought? Oh, how to air fry chicken thighs from frozen. And like I told Jeff, I said, nobody's going to watch this. Like, even though I've got my own method for air frying from frozen, because I'm not a huge fan of cooking food from frozen because it doesn't have the same quality. You end up drying out the outside before the inside cooks through, and it just doesn't work for me. I don't like that. I don't like weird textures and stuff that I like my chicken breast to be tender and juicy all the way through. And sometimes that doesn't happen if you cook from frozen. But these air fryer chicken thighs that I did were amazing. And I used a step method of cooking, meaning I started out at a high temperature, or it could be reversed. You could start out at a low temperature. And then after 15 minutes of cooking, I bumped it down to finish cooking it without overcooking the outside or drying out the outside. It worked lovely. You would never know these things were frozen. Well, I thought that recipe would do terrible on YouTube. It's not. It's doing great because, again, it's basic. It's what people want, I think. So you'll be seeing some more of that stuff from me. All right. Now let's see. I think I got everything. I'm sure I missed some comments. But anyway, so let's go ahead and finish this up. Any other questions or anything else? Okay. So Jackie says, soak the chicken breast in brine and they will never be dry. Okay, brining is wonderful. It is absolutely wonderful. I agree with you, but it does not fix overcooking. Like if you overcook it, it's still gonna dry out, especially on the outside, especially in the air fryer. But brining is a fantastic method. I mean, fantastic. Problem with that is you have to plan ahead, because you have to brine it ahead of time. Sous vide is another incredible cooking method. I mean, a incredible cooking method for so many things. Yes, Z, that's what I think too. And it's like, sometimes as a recipe creator, I overthink things, right? So I think, oh, people are going to want to, they're going to want to learn how to make, let me think, beef Wellington. Let me make beef Wellington. Well, beef Wellington is absolutely delicious. But how many times a year are you going to make beef Wellington? Right? Once, twice, maybe 3 times. You might just want to learn how to make that steak, right? That perfect steak that you're going to make, once a month, So you're right. And I overthink it sometimes. And I think people aren't going to like certain things that they absolutely love. And I'm learning. I'm learning as I go because this all of this is new to me too, and so I make mistakes and figure out what people really want and need, because that's what this is all about for me is trying to help as many people as I can have confidence to go in and say I can make whatever I want in the kitchen at any time. I can go in there and I can cook whatever I want. It's going to turn out perfectly. You know, um, does it always? But every single day I go into the kitchen thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna make this, it's gonna turn out perfectly." Right? That's the confidence that I have in the kitchen. I want everybody to have that. So if I can just give a little bit away all the time, I will. Um, okay, this is a good one, Louise. And hi, Jolene, how are you? Is it the weekend? It's not the weekend. It's Tuesday. I had a good weekend though. And our chicken coop's up, but I'll tell you guys about the chicken coop and stuff as soon as I'm done with the Q&A. I'll just add a 5 minute for those of you that want to stick around and hear about the chicken coop and the chickens and how many we have now because it's grown. Okay, Louise, how to clean the top of the Ninja Foodi. This is like the question I always get, and I don't have a good answer. Stay on top of it. Number one, wipe down your heating coil once it warms, once it starts to cool down, but isn't totally cold. So when it's still warm, you're not going to burn yourself, but get a warm rag and wipe that down. That'll keep it clean. You can there's a brush that you can go and get underneath and back in there. But honestly, I don't want you to worry about it too much. I mean, unless it's really, really gotten bad, um, it's nothing to be concerned about because you've got the high heat going on, whether you're pressure cooking. Now, that's one thing with the one lid model. It's kind of weird, but you do want to keep that one cleaner, but it's easier to clean. Okay. So the two lid models, your crisping lid's never coming into contact with the food when you're pressure cooking. So you don't need to worry about that. When you're air frying, the heat is so hot, you're not going to get like bacteria or anything. So I don't want you to freak out too much about it because it's going to get brown. Like there's just no way around that. I mean, it's going to get brown. You cannot get it all the way off. You can take it apart. People do it all the time. I have never taken mine apart. I'm one of those people that I'll take it apart, but I'll never get it back together. It'll never work again. Right. So I don't do that. Mine aren't that bad though. The other thing to do is try to make sure that your food is at the right level because a lot of times the lids are getting really dirty and greasy because the food's too high and there's too much splatter. So try to make sure your food's at the right level and not too close to the heating element. But there's no secret trick. There's no secret trick. Um, Addicted to succulents. Can you use glass pans in the Ninja Foodi? You can use anything that's oven safe in the Ninja Foodi using the dry cooking methods or even the steam method should be fine. But pressure cooking with glass is one of those real tricky things. So pressure cooking with glass, ceramic, stoneware, things like that, they do have a chance of breaking. And they will break from time to time. If there's any hairline cracks in them, then the change in the pressure is going to cause them to crack more. So it's not really recommended because it's not like it's going to blow up or anything like that. But you don't want to ruin your food. Like if you've got food in your glass pan and your glass pan breaks, your food's ruined too, right? You broke your pan and you ruined your food. So it's just recommended that you don't do it. One exception is canning jars. I do cook in canning jars. I do pressure cook in canning jars, but they're designed for pressure cooking. And sometimes they break. But it's a little bit different because, if you're making like like I have a pot de creme, a chocolate pot de creme recipe that uses the little canning jars. It's the most delicious dessert ever. Super, super easy to make. And I think there's 6 of them, right? So if one breaks, okay, one broke. Your other 5 are fine because it didn't contaminate them. I think I've had pressure cooking with testing. I've got several recipes that use those little canning jars, and I think I've had one break, but it's possible. It can happen. Okay. So how do I like this stainless steel inner pot? So this is my story. People who've been following me for a long time know about this. The stainless steel pot works fine. The only thing it does cook a little bit differently, but not enough to really worry about for most things. The only thing that I would be worried about, sometimes you have to drop your temperature down when you're doing sear saute because stainless conducts heat differently than the ceramic coated pot. So it gets a little bit hotter, a little bit quicker, and it can burn your food a little bit easier. It's also a little bit easier to get the burn notice or the water notice using the stainless steel pot. And because it heats up fast, sometimes there's it will have more evaporation before the pot goes under pressure. So sometimes, very seldom, like with really with a recipe that has like really specific water to ingredient ratios like rice and pasta and things like that. In the stainless steel pot, you might want to add 1 to 2 tablespoons extra, okay, just to make up for that. But for the most part, they cook fine. And I like it. It works fine. I love cooking on stainless, but I don't use their pot. Their pot is made by a company who is unethical on Amazon, and I have come out about this several times. I used to deal with them quite often. I had no idea that they were doing anything unethical, and I'm just not going to be a part of that. So, and there's like 3 companies that sell that pot, but they're all really one. It all comes from the same people, really. So, for that reason, I don't support it. I don't talk about it. I don't cook with it. However, it works fine. Okay. I'm the one that helped them with it. So I know it works fine. I know it's safe and, it's stainless. People love that. So it's fine. The company is just very unethical. So that's my take. And yes, they've threatened to sue me for saying that publicly. And I say, come on, bring it on. It's fine with me. Okay. Okay, Robin, that's a good idea for brining. That's a good idea. I could do that. Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. And maybe I'll just do it with something simple. Usually I brine a turkey, right? Okay, so I have a recipe for brining a turkey on my website already. But brining's not just for turkeys. I think we could do chicken breast. I mean, obviously we can do chicken breast. So good idea. Okay, so Missy's saying, when or if you make the German casserole, you have to make it in a pan. Okay. So Tom says the secret to any protein being appetizing is the temperature that it's cooked to. Yeah. 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 You're right. Yeah. I mean, well, for the desired result you want, Tom, right? Because let's put that caveat in there. Like, if you want a top round that is sliceable, you're going to cook it to a medium rare for the best texture for thin sliced roast beef. But if you want to use a top round for a pot roast because you want it to be, or for shredded beef, you're going to cook it to an internal temperature of over 200 to get that consistency. But yeah, you're right. It does, like pork chops cannot be overcooked. I mean, pork chops are probably one of the toughest things to cook correctly. And they overcook so quickly. So, thank you, John. I appreciate that. I love to hear the experiments too and what you guys are doing. I love it. Okay, so Missy's telling me that I cannot use the pressure cooker. Yeah, I probably wouldn't anyway, but Wendy says, never thought I'd have to live in a kitchen with no refrigerator or my ninjas. Oh my gosh, what happened, Wendy? I must have missed something. Oh my gosh. I hope you're okay. I must have missed something. Hey, Moose. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I had only one person said they didn't like those carrots. They said they didn't have any seasoning. I was like, oh, Bob thinks so. They do. They have pretty much a lot of seasoning, but maybe they put too much water or maybe they didn't use the seasoning. I don't know. But most people have really loved them. Hi, Cindy. How are you? So addicted to succulents, and her name is Cindy. 3 meals so far in the ninja, and your husband loves the foodie. That's awesome. I follow your recipes exactly. Thank you so much for your advice. Your videos are great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Beth, have a good night. Okay, unethical in the fact that we're talking about this company. I'm not naming the name, but we're talking about this company. So what they do on Amazon, which goes against Amazon's terms of service, and gives them an unfair advantage upon over and above other more ethical companies that may or may not produce that pot, which unfortunately nobody does, or I would support them. They bribe you with gifts for positive reviews. To me, that's like no. Like you just and people call me naive all the time. Like I got really heated discussions about this. This happened years ago. So I'm pretty much over it now. But I mean, people telling me that you're just so naive, you don't even know this goes on all the time. I don't really care that it goes on all the time. It's wrong. It's wrong to bribe people for reviews. You get your gift after you prove that you gave them a good review. That's bull. Because what happens when you're an Amazon seller, let's say Louise from the salted pepper had a stainless pot, and Louise didn't bribe people for reviews. Louise went by her quality of that pot, and people don't give reviews a lot. I mean, they do and they don't. You know what I mean? It's like you can't solicit reviews for Amazon. It's unethical anywhere, but it's against their rules. And then company B is sending you messages that you can get free this, free that, free coupons, free, free products, free this. If you give them a good review, just take a snapshot of it and send it to them and they'll send you the gift. Well, people want their stuff. They want the stuff. So they give the review. Not even thinking it through. I mean, I'm not saying these people that give the reviews for the stuff is you're doing anything wrong. You're not. It's the company that's doing it wrong. Well, then this unethical company B is going to outperform Louise, the salted pepper, completely because they're going to have the reviews. And Amazon is weighted so heavily on reviews that it's what can make the difference between your product taking off and being successful and failing. And when people use unscrupulous or unethical tactics to get to the top, I call BS on it. I don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me. I didn't know what was going on. I was notified about it. Again, this was years ago. I'm still fired up about it though. So that's the answer. Okay. Bye, John. See you later. Okay. Okay, so Jane says, I'd like to see more steak recipes. Mine always turns out overcooked, and salmon is impossible for me. Salmon is one of those things that I want to love, and I don't. I don't love it. I don't even like it that much. I like it better. It's weird. When I make it, because every once in a while I will make it because I'm testing a recipe, but I don't have any recipes on my website because I can't make it 3 times in a row that quick because I don't like it that much. But every time I make it, I'm like, Jeff, this is actually really good. Right. But then the thought of it the next day is like, I don't want to make it again though. Right. So it's hard for me. But there are some great ways to make wonderfully cooked salmon in the Ninja Foodi, and I need to get on them. I know I do. Oh no. So Wendy said they're selling their house and thought it was all done and you moved out. Oh my gosh, that's so hard. Oh my gosh. Oh, good. Mary Ellen made the quick and easy pot roast and it turned out great. Hey, David. David just had cataract surgery and now he can see what he's cooking. There you go. My husband had cataract surgery years ago. He was very young. It changed. It's life-changing. Yeah, I agree, Rob. I think reviews should be honest. And we rely on them. Like, as a consumer, we rely on reviews. And that's what I kind of I get heated up about a few things. That I get heated up about anybody bullying anybody about anything. That I get heated up about that. like putting somebody down or thinking that they're better, they could cook better, that, you did it wrong because you did it differently. I get real fired up about that, let me tell you. And then I get fired up over, oh gosh, I just had it on the top of my head. The uh, not being honest, really, that fires me up. There was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember it now. But yeah, very few things fire me up, but those things do. Oh, no, well, no, I can't remember, and I wanted to share it with you. Oh, well, maybe next time. Um, oh, I know what gets me fired up. What gets me really fired up is when people accuse me of not being like truthful upfront, or that I'm just trying to sell a product and I don't like what I'm saying is not accurate. I'm just trying to sell a product. That is complete BS. That is complete BS. Like I would never do that in a million years. Never. That's just not me. And people who know me and have followed me for years know I will speak the truth about everything, because hey, if you speak the truth, you never have to remember the lie, right? So, no, that fires me up a lot. I get accused of that quite a bit, honestly, more so than you would think, that I'm just a rep for Ninja or I'm just this, that. I'm like, I am not. I am absolutely not. All right. All right, let's see. Mannion says he'll never fill up a good comment on a product with a gift. That's right. Nope. And Dude Mun says, thanks for explaining. That's a flat out unethical. Yep. It is unethical. It's just wrong. And there's so many slimy people in this world. It's just, it's like, and for me to be even associated with them was like, oh, I'm getting away. And I found out about it from one of you guys. So one of you guys emailed me. I got a few emails actually, but I was like, what? They're doing what? And immediately I'm like, I'm cutting ties. I took the video down, like, because I had a video actually promoting that stainless steel pot and it was doing amazingly well. I had affiliates for them. I was making money every day. And they have a lot of products and I was making quite a bit of money. I mean, I gave up quite a bit of money, but I was like, no way. Nope. Never. Judy says, ask, can you do tofu in the Foodi? Yes, absolutely. You can do it. A lot of people do the air crisp for the tofu. I've tried tofu a couple of times, like, because I don't use it on the regular and I don't use it in my recipes, like I don't have a good understanding of it yet. I've bought it, I've tried it, I've played with it, I've pressed it, I've done some things. I've even tried to coat it in things and like season it, and maybe even I've breaded it once to air fry it, and I just don't have a good feel for it. But if you make tofu all the time and you know how it works, then it's going to be a breeze for you. Thanks, dude, man. I appreciate that. Mary, when you say sliced mushrooms recipe, what do you mean? Like a sauteed mushroom? Is that what you're talking about? It's so funny because when we're creating recipes as recipe developers, one of the things that we do is called SEO. We look to see what is a search term that people are looking for on Google, because I can make the best recipe in the world. But honestly, if it's not showing up on Google or people aren't searching for it, then it doesn't bring any traffic. Nobody sees it. It's kind of like a waste of time, right? Now I do some of those recipes that don't get any search on Google, and I do them for my Facebook groups, and I do them for my email list, and I do them for specific reasons. But funny thing is that sliced mushrooms is one of them that is actually a good search term for me. So I thought about doing sauteed mushroom and onions, because it sounds so silly. Like, why would anybody need to learn how to saute mushrooms? Well, I was doing it all wrong until I followed Julia Child's cookbook, and I realized that I was crowding my mushrooms. And the difference between crowded mushrooms and uncrowded mushrooms is night and day. If you like mushrooms and you want the best mushroom experience of your life, saute them in a single layer. Do not let them steam, let them brown. Oh my gosh, you could eat them morning, noon, and night. They're so delicious. Okay. I don't know what was funny, Robin, but I will tell you that I am the real deal. Like, I am real all the time. And people know it. My mom used to say, Louise, you could never, ever, ever pretend to be anything or feel a certain way that you don't, because your face will give it away in a second. Like, There's times in my videos where I've tasted something, I didn't like it. You can tell immediately, like, I don't like it, like, on my lives. Now, if I don't like it at the end of a video and I like a YouTube video, and I don't like it, and there's a reason why, like, I could fix something about it, I don't think it's worth redoing an entire video, you'll see that. Sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, it's a little salty," or something like that, and but sometimes I'll test the recipe, it'll be well tested, I will do the video on it, it'll be all done. I get to the end and it didn't work out. That video doesn't go out. If I don't like that, if I don't like it, it does not, the video does not go out and the recipe goes back into testing. That's how particular I am. Like, I'm not putting out because, if I put out recipes that were even, and I'm kind of, this sounds a little conceited. I don't mean it to come across that way, but if I put out recipes that are even just so, that's not good enough for me. Like, I want them to be knock it out of the park delicious, right? So I'm pretty particular. I'm hard on myself too. Um, okay, Adam, that's a good question. How do you know when the Ninja Foodi inner pot is too worn out and needs to be replaced? Number one, if you're getting the pot notice, that is a good indication. I mean, we talked about that a little bit earlier in the live. That if you're getting the pot notice a lot and you do my little test. I don't know if you were here in the beginning, but I'm not going to go over it again, but you press down with some kind of utensil on that sensor. And if you don't get the pot notice when you're pressing it down manually, then you've probably got a problem with your pot. The other thing is that those pots, they do get scratched up and everything. So I would say when it starts to not really cook effectively, I would definitely just replace it. They're not that expensive. And I for me, I probably replace mine at least once a year, but I have a lot. Well, you can see them right back there. See all the pots stacked up? So I have some that are like there's stages of them, right? When they get real scratched up, they just go, they're done. They're done. But there's some that are just maybe a little stained, but not, they still cook perfectly fine. Those are my testing pots. Then I've got pots for videos that are a little bit, brighter white and, prettier looking for the camera. So, but probably once a year. Same with your silicone rings. Your silicone rings go bad as well. So you want to change those out about once a year. All right. So Mary, I won't have time by the time you need to use your mushrooms. So let me just tell you how to do them if you want to saute them. So if you want to do it in the Ninja Foodi, or you could do it in a frying pan on the stove, it'd be the same instructions. Turn your heat on high on the Ninja Foodi, probably medium high on your stove. Get a nice heavy bottom pot. So whether it's stainless or nonstick, it's probably not going to matter. Get that hot, add in some oil, and then put in your mushrooms in a single layer, even if you can't fit them all at one go. This will change the way you think about mushrooms, I'm telling you. Let them saute on the one side until they're brown and flip them. You should see no juices coming out of them when they're in a single layer and you're sauteing them over medium high to high heat. They're not going to steam. They're going to brown. Then you flip them over and you're going to salt them too. Okay. Season them a little bit. And then do it again on the other side. And then at the very, very, very end, add in a pat of butter, move them around, take them out, make sure they're salt and pepper to taste, and enjoy the best mushrooms you've ever had in your life. That's how you make it. That's how you do it. Okay. I've actually made them. So are you asking me if I've personally eaten them? I don't think so. I think you're asking me if I've made them. But I will tell you that I made butternut squash dog treats for my dogs, and I want it to be a recipe on the website. I dropped the ball on that. I never got it done. I do not know why. And I did eat one because they're all natural ingredients and I wanted to see what they tasted like and they were fine. Bland, like nothing. I mean, I would want them spicy or whatever, but spiced up, cinnamon and things like that. But honestly, they would be like a little cookie if they were. But yeah, I have made them and I need to make them as a recipe because they were really good. Okay. Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. As I'm far from mediocre with your recipes. I hope so. I do not want to be mediocre. Well, thank you. Jolene, how are you? Thank you so I said, how are you? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, this is a good question. Let's take this question. Then I am going to talk about my chickens because I promised you I would. I'm going to talk about that for about 5 minutes at the very end. Wash mushrooms or no? It's such a controversy. Okay, it is, right? So I personally do not wash my mushrooms. I take a damp paper towel and I just wipe them off. However, it has been brought to my attention that and the reason being is because I think of mushrooms as a sponge and I feel like they're going to absorb liquid, right? That's what I feel like they're going to do because they absorb flavor so easily. And I just, I think half the camp that says don't wash them thinks that way. However, there has been a study done by, gosh, what is his name? He was on Food Network. And I say a study, an experiment, Alton Brown. And I trust Alton, right? So he did an experiment where he weighed mushrooms, rinsed them in water versus not, doing it both ways. And there's absolutely no change in weight, and there was no change in texture, and there was no change in taste. So you can wash them or not. It's up to you. I'd say be gentle with them because you don't want to tear them. But a damp towel works great for me. I don't worry about it. So there you go. Wash, but don't drown them. So yeah, I wouldn't soak them in water. Yeah. So, okay. But I shocked you when I told you I ate one, right? Okay. Let's see. All right. So we're done. All comments are answered. So let me tell you about my chickens. So we went out and we have one hen left. Okay. Of our original, we had 4. Then we hatched some, which some of you guys saw that live. That was, I think, last year, 2 years ago. I can't remember. Time goes so fast. So unfortunately, almost all of them were roosters. So we gave them away because I'm not doing a rooster. Well, I might do another rooster. I'm thinking about it now, but we had a really bad rooster. So gave them away. And then we kept 2. And we had 2 unfortunate incidences with them. One, our dogs got by accident. That's bad parenting. I take full responsibility for that. And we didn't know that the little chicken was out. It was really sad. Anyway, and then the other one, we don't know what happened. Something came and killed it. It wasn't our dogs, though, I promise. And so those went away. And then one of our girls died of natural causes. One disappeared while we were on vacation. We don't know what happened to her. We're very sad. So we know we want to get new chickens this spring, and 4 would have been fine, right? Well, we finally found them, and Jeff got 8. He got 4. And I forget what they are now. He would know. I forget exactly what their breed is, but 4 white ones and 4 red ones. I think Rhode Island Reds might be the red ones, and then I forget what the white ones are called. So, but my heart is with my Barred Rocks. I love those girls. I love them, and I only have 1 left. And so Jeff went and found 4 Barred Rocks. So now we have 8 chickens that have just, like, they've grown up inside in our brooder in our house. They have just been transitioned out to their coop, which is like where the other older chicken can see them. And so that they get used to each other before they're all moved to a new coop together, because we've got a new coop. And then we have 4 that are still babies. So it's like, this is going to be like a long transition, because there's a transition period. You can't just throw all the chickens in. It's a transition period to get them used to each other. So we've got to do it twice. I'm like, oh, joy. And you can't put young ones in with the older ones, and there's a whole bunch of things about it. But Jeff has a pet chicken called Angel. And let me just tell you, I have never seen a chicken so attached to a person and so like easily handled. Like, Jeff will just put his hand out, and Jeff will just put his hand out, and Angel will just jump right on the hand and then jump right on his shoulder and just hang out with him. It's really amazing. So we are so excited. And we've got a new greenhouse that's not attached, but The greenhouse sits here, and then the chicken coop's here, and in between is the run. And Jeff is building the fence. So the front of the fence will be white, so it looks nice, from our house and everything. And then the back part, they've got a huge run, which is just going to be done in hardware cloth and stainless steel stuff, and there. I just can't wait. I'm so excited. So I'll be posting some pictures. Oh my gosh, I love it. We thought about getting a duck, Trisha, and I did not know this, and I don't know, maybe you guys don't know this either, so you'll learn something. When we were at the Tractor Supply, which is where we got some of the chickens from, they had ducks, and I was like, well, we could have ducks. We have a pond. We could have ducks, and we have an extra coop, so we could give them the shelter down there and blah, 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 and they could do the pond thing and everything. And then I said something, we're talking about the dogs, because, ducks, you wouldn't necessarily have to have them penned in if you didn't want to. Well, until I found this out, that the ducks that you get like at Tractor Supply or whatever, they can't fly. They can't fly. I was like, well, Jeff, we can't get ducks that can't fly, because how in the world are they going to get into the pond and get away from the dogs? Or whatever else. We need flying ducks. So we nixed that one. So we didn't get any ducks. It's not foxes that we have to, I'm sure we have them, because we live on 16 acres and 8 of it's wooded. I'm sure we have foxes. It's the coyotes. But, if a coyote comes and gets a chicken, they usually don't just stop at one, number one. Number two, usually see remnants, because we've had that happen. And you see remnants, but 2 of these chickens just disappeared. Now, they're big girls too, so I don't even think a bird, like a hawk, can come down and take a chicken in a second too. But these are big girls. I don't know. I just saw a thing I wanted to. Oh, Wendy, your duck made friends with your dog? That's amazing. We have 3 dogs, and one dog there's no issues with this dog, right? This dog could care less about those chickens. This dog would love the chickens, would sleep in the coop with the chickens. There'd be no problems. That's my Gussie, my little Gussie go. But George and Callie is disinterested, but she would get involved. Okay. She would definitely get involved. The other one, George, too much of a pit bull. He's just got this instinct. He's the sweetest dog in the world, but he's got this instinct. Not even it's really funny, because Callie will chase a rabbit in the yard or a deer in the yard before George would ever bother. But George would play with the chicken before Callie would bother, and George's play is too rough for a chicken. So it can't happen. So the dogs cannot be out with the chickens, which has been a real pain, because I like my chickens to free range. I love them to just be out in the yard, and we have to time it, and it can be a pain. Now that they'll have a bigger pen area, bigger range, so to speak, I kind of feel better. They'll have more free range time. Even though they're not technically free ranging, they're not in a little coop, and they're not in a little pen, like the one we have now. We let our chickens out all the time, because we want them out free ranging. So, all right, guys. So, Robin says you live on a lake, a large pond type, and have ducks that set up nests in our yard. I've seen geese. I don't see any ducks where we live. None whatsoever. So, hey, Joni, how are you? So Joni's saying, and also it's late for me to say this, but I'll just say it anyway. So some comments come in from Facebook and some come in from YouTube. So if I'm answering a comment and you don't even see it, it's because you're probably on the other platform. So that's why I try to put them up sometimes here. Peking ducks won't fly up, but can fly low as they glide to safety at the pond. I had 3, but lost them to bobcats after being here 5 years, because now we have a ton of coyotes. Oh, so coyotes will get them too? we better skip the ducks. I mean, like I totally understand life cycle, right? I totally understand how animals eat other animals and stuff. I totally get that. And um, but I'm not going to like provide the food for the coyotes. I'm not gonna put the ducks at risk. So I'm not gonna do that. Um, oh, Jolene has swans. How beautiful. How absolutely beautiful. So I don't know the answer to that, Jolene. Why can't they fly? There's something about the breed. I don't know. I mean, they're babies, so it's not like they've just clipped their wings. I mean, it's something about that breed that they have. And I don't even know what breed they were because they just look like yellow little ducks to me, right? I have no idea because I've never had ducks or studied ducks or anything. But yeah, so I was like, no, we're not doing that. Then we had a chance to get a mallard ducks. But at that point, we had already said no, we weren't going to do ducks this year. We are going to do bees next year, I think, which is funny because I've always been petrified of bees. But I want to make well, I'm not going to make the honey. They're going to make the honey. But I really want to do that. So bees are going to be next year. So that's a big learning curve. And I think you do it in the fall, if I'm not mistaken. So that's going to be a big learning curve. So if you guys know anything about bee raising, I don't even know if there's a word for it. There probably is. Yeah, let me know. Oh no. I have a fox wild who has eaten 5 of my hens. They are free range. I've been trying to trap him to relocate, but he's a willy. Oh no, that's terrible. Um, let's see. Okay. Um, they are apparently they are, and we've been doing we don't do anything quick. So Jeff and I have actually been thinking about bees for 4 years. So bye, Missy. So yeah, they're complicated, and I feel like raising bees is a big responsibility. So it's not something that you go into lightly and without a really strong knowledge base and commitment, because the last thing you want to do is kill bees. I mean, and apparently it's not hard to do. So I'm petrified of bees. I'm not so much anymore because they fly all around me now where I live. But I mean, I always was petrified of bees. But they are just so beneficial, and they make delicious honey, Duck, I said duck, I've got duck on my mind. Jeff wants to get goats, but I was like, only if they're milking goats, but I don't really like goat milk that much. So we even talked about getting a cow or two. I think you need two. I don't know, but Rob, see me in a bee suit, right? Right. With my little smoking gun or whatever they do, right? How fun. I might have to start a new YouTube channel for all this stuff because it's really fun. And I feel like the salted pepper channel is pretty focused. So I don't know. Um, Joni, yeah, I would definitely, we would definitely get it from a reputable source. Like we'll do research, plenty of it, um, before, before we get started. Like you even have to, excuse me, you have to have the hives pointing a certain direction, where they take off and land and stuff. So it's really interesting. Yeah. So I don't know. I might have to start a new channel just for that stuff. So those of you that are interested in that can watch those and stuff like that. Um, Juliet, I love hummingbirds. Now, one thing about hummingbirds is I use the Ninja Foodi to make their food, and it's super easy to do. So, because you're just making the sugar water, obviously you let it cool, but it's a 1-to-4 ratio, I think. Don't quote me on that because I don't remember now. But I only do a 1-to-1 ratio, and then I add the extra water in, cold water, so that it takes less time to cool. So that's pretty cool. So we have a beekeeper who keeps bees on our property and our neighbor's property. He gives us honey every month for just letting him keep his bees there. That's awesome. The raw honey. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, Yeah, that's so great. That's awesome. Jeff, Louise, and the bees. Call it the bees knees. Or the wheeze bees, the bees wheeze. It would, if I did another channel like that, it would be probably like a lot of different things. So it would probably be freeze drying, it would be canning, it would be all, all the things that I do that I love to do, but yeah, I know, Mannion. I know I won't have enough. I know I don't have enough time already. We just keep doing what we want to do, right? I told Jeff, I said, we did things so backwards in our lives that I don't have any children, but if I did, my advice to them would be reverse things. So don't buy the big farm and property in your second stage of life. Buy that stuff in your 20s, right? Or 20s or 30s. Enjoy it. And then when you're in your 50s and 60s, you move to the condo, right? I said, Jeff, we did it all backwards. Now we've got all this work to do and we're getting older and older and older, but we love it. So we keep on going. Oh, yeah, Wayne. I bet it's a lot of work. Jeff's going to have to retire. I mean, I can't retire. I'm still going to be doing my recipes. Jeff needs to retire. And so he can take care of the farm. It's so awesome. The salted pepper behind the scene. I could call it the salted pepper farm. I could do that. Tie it in, but have it be a little different. Cooking with honey. Oh, I love that. I love that, actually. I think that's awesome. All right, guys. So I am going to say goodnight. Oh, Native Doll says she's about to be 58, and I wish we had a condo. We own a 3-bedroom house on an acre. Yeah, we own 16 acres, 2 houses because one's my studio, one's there. Lots of upkeep, and I'm in my 50s. Yeah, silly me, but I couldn't be happier. I am like, the saying, you're living your best life. I am living my best life. Like, I love every single day, and I am so blessed. And I say all the time that so much of it is because of you guys, because this community is one of the most inspiring, nicest places to be. Like in my groups and stuff, 99% of the time, they're just lovely people. Everybody's lovely. We get along so well, and it's just so respectful. And then, of course, we have those little people every once in a while, but it's just awesome. I love it. And I'm just so lucky to be a part of it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I always love Tuesdays, whether it's Q&A or simply cooking, or is that what it's called? Tasty Tuesday. Simply cooking. Tasty Tuesday. So love you guys. I will see you next week. Or I'll see you Sunday for the video premiere. I don't even know. I haven't even filmed the video yet. That's just between you and me. I'm not usually that far behind, but I am this time.